what to do when your business is in trouble? We're going to answer that question in this video. Okay, let's rock. Let's talk about this. How do we make it happen? Our business is in trouble. What do we do? Okay, I'm the perfect person to tell you tons of stories about my businesses getting into trouble and how I came out of them. So the core fundamental values when your business is in trouble is take a breather, take a couple steps back, and start writing down all the possibilities of ways you could actually make it work. And I know it's not simple to sound, but look and say, why is my business in trouble? Start with that. Is it because of financial reasons? Maybe not enough customers coming in. Maybe there's a lawsuit. Maybe there's been changes, like governmental changes, ordinances that have affected your business and now you can't operate, or you have limited operations, things like that. So sit back and just evaluate. That's step one. Because when you're in panic mode, when you've got those crazy feelings going on, you don't make necessarily the best decisions, and then the fear enters the mind, right? And when fear enters the mind, it's like a disease. It just keeps rolling and you can't stop thinking about it and everything, the world's ending. Half the time, it's not as big as it's caked out to be. There's actually fixes to it. In some cases, there's nothing you can do. You end up having to actually close your doors. That's a actual more rare case scenario. So I don't want you to think about that first, because the absolute last resort is, you might have to actually close your doors down. There are certain businesses that get affected by governmental changes. Let's just make an example. In like 1970, whenever it happened, 70, 71, there was a time prior to that where there was nobody in the gold business that could operate. It wasn't legal to basically operate. Like you could sell maybe jewelry, but you couldn't sell gold, right? And gold as an investment was illegal by the government. And when Nixon took us off the gold standard, a lot of laws changed. And you'll have to look that up, because there's a lot of different things that have happened in this country in regards to gold. There was a time, in the early 1900s where they produced gold. It was okay to own gold. And then, I think it was like 1933, you can look it up, like I said, there was an actual time when it was against the law to own gold as an American, which is just crazy. And it wasn't until like around 1970 that Richard Nixon lifted that and it was okay. So that's an example of what I mean about governmental changes. Like, let's just hypothetically say you were in the gold business in like the 1910s or 20s and it was legal, and then they made it in like 1933 or whenever it was, they made it illegal. Well, now, sometimes there's just nothing you can do. You have to close your doors down and move on. So understanding that, and that's a real possibility, will allow you to make the right decisions for what you need to do with your business. If it is something where you can't help it, you just have to slowly do the right thing. And if you decide to close your doors down, make sure you do it right. Don't hose over your competitors, honor your debts. If you don't have the money, you say, oh, that's easy to just randomly say. But if that was to happen, make sure that you actually honor your debts. So go to the creditors and say, hey, look, I know I owe you this much for the rest of my advertising contract or this much of my lease agreement. I don't want to get sued and I do want to pay you. So can I be set up on some kind of a payment plan that relieves me from having to pay what it is? And in a lot of cases, they're going to work with you, because they would much rather just settle with you that way than have to hire an attorney on their end and come after you, because it's very costly for them to do that. There's a lot of energy that goes into that. And some people just don't want to have, if they don't want to have to come after you if you're willing to at least try to give it a shot, right? And do the right thing and make it right. So you would have to go that route. Now, if your business is in trouble, most of the time, it's not because of necessarily a government change, right? A government ordinance or rule or regulation. It's usually because something's happened, a new competitor's entered your space, somebody's selling your products for cheaper, or they're offering better service, or they're bigger and badder and newer, and you've been around, and so all the customers want to start going there, and that's really affecting your business, right? In that particular case, you have control over that. You've got the ability to make changes. You do. And so when that happens, you've got to decide, is this a business you want to stick with and try to compete on that level, or is it something you want to slowly dissolve? There's nothing against that, right? Maybe you say, you know what? I've had a good run for this. I've been in this business for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. It's just not working out like it used to. I'm not passionate about it. I'm older now and I don't have the same drive that I did then. Well, if that's the case, if those are truly the answers, then it might be a better solution to slowly dissolve the business and move on with your life and do something else. Nothing wrong with that either, right? Another situation. So let's think back to my baseball card business. I started this when I was 16 years old, and that was in 1993. And in 94, 95, baseball went on strike. So imagine having a baseball card shop when baseball goes on strike. Like literally nobody wanted baseball cards. And all we're doing is sports cards. So how is it that I'm going to stay in business, right? I'm in trouble. Customers aren't coming in. I got to pay rent. I got to pay utilities. I'm trying to make money myself, but I can't make any money. There's nothing out there. So what did we do? We got into other things. We diversified. We diversified our product lines. And that's one of the big takeaways from this video. If you're into a business that offers products and services, you need to possibly add new products or services to your product and services line. Your business might have been missing that the whole time anyway. It just might be a rude awakening. So that stopped selling. These items don't sell as well. Maybe something, again, there's a better mousetrap, as they say, that was invented that replaces your products. And when that happens, you just have to figure out, okay, so maybe those particular products aren't going to sell as well, but what else can I get into in that industry? What else can I sell? What other services can I provide my customers? And be innovative, right? They say that. It's such an overused word, and I hate it because half the time people just say, oh, just innovate. Like it's just so simple to just innovate. And I know what you're feeling like, well, geez, what do I do? What do you mean by that? Well, be creative, right? If you've survived in business already this long, you've been smart, you've been creative, you've been able to do things. So sit back again, relax, and write down a bunch of stuff that you could maybe carry. So in our particular case, we ended up, after baseball cards, selling Beanie Babies. Think about that. Like, as a baseball card dealer, having to sell Beanie Babies, I'm like, oh my gosh, I never thought I signed up to be a stuffed animal dealer, right? If somebody told me that when I was getting into the baseball card business, I would have laughed. I would have said they're lying. It would never happen in a million years. But that carried us. And then after that, we were into beanies. We got into Magic the Gathering cards, which was a trading card game. And then you might have heard of Pokemon. We got into Pokemon cards. And so what we started doing is we went from, I like to call it like a one-dimensional card shop, where we just sold sports cards. So if you called us for anything else card related, and there was tons of non-sport trading cards, we just kind of brick-walled you and told you, no, we just do sports cards. We were being super stubborn, and all it was doing was hampering our growth. We were basically telling those customers that were potential customers, no, go somewhere else. Go figure out where to get those other cards, rather than adapting to the situations. And that's what you have to learn how to do. Be a chameleon. Learn how to adapt to your environment. Learn how to adapt to your situations. And when you learn how to do that, you're going to grow. And I know it's painful. It's not easy. It wasn't easy for us to learn about Beanie Babies. It wasn't easy for us to learn about Magic the Gathering and a trading card game and Pokemon. We didn't know what the heck those things were, but we took the time to do it. And because we did that and we put in the effort and we weren't lazy and we were fearless, at the beginning we had the fear in us, but what conquers fear is just putting that foot in front of the other and keep going forward. That's what makes you fearless, is taking on fear head on and pushing forward. And that's what we did. And the rest is history. 27 years later in 2020, we're one of the biggest retailers online of trading cards, okay? And that happened because we adapted, because we got into new product lines. So we were in trouble, right? Our business was in trouble. We were going out of business. We probably had 2 or 3 months tops, and we were gonna have to close our doors down if we didn't make a change. And we made a change. And that's what you'll need to do if your business is in trouble. Now, you might be saying, well, neither of those apply to me. It's not my products and services. It's not this, it's not that. Maybe you're having legal issues, maybe employee issues, right? Maybe you've got one of those, what do you call them? Not class actions, but when you've got a group of people that band together like employees and they're after you for a reason, right? And you're saying, well, I'm in trouble because of this. Well, obviously seek your attorney. They're going to give you the best advice for that. But just because you've got a lawsuit on you, don't make that think that that's the end of the road for you. That's the end for your business. Don't think of that. If you think that direction, you're probably going to be right. It's probably going to be the end of you. But you say, no, wait a second here. I've had this business for years. This is my baby. This is how I make my living. And so maybe I screwed up and I did something wrong here. It was on accident. And I'm going to do my best to get this thing resolved, figured out. Then I'm going to move on with my life. I'm going to chalk it up as a lesson learned and move on. And sometimes that's all you need, is you need somebody just to remind you and tell you that you do have the power and the ability to get through this tough time. You do have the power to get through trouble. You do. and you need to realize that. And when you push through and you get through that, you're going to now be stronger, bigger, badder than ever, so that if that situation was to come back or repeat itself, you're going to be like, yeah, not a big deal. I've been through that before, been there, done that, no big deal. And so the last thing I'll talk about is just flat out financial trouble, right? For whatever reason. Let's just say, it doesn't matter what the reason is, you just need more money for your business. If that comes to that, that's when you have to start looking at potential loans, right? From a bank. Sometimes these lines of credit are available at very low interest rates. Maybe you have a credit card that you've parked and you haven't used. It's just been sitting in your drawer at your desk at your work, and it's got, $20 or $30 or $50,000 of credit. Maybe you have to go that route. But understand, if you start borrowing money and going that route, don't forget, you're going to have to pay that money back. That money doesn't just go away. It doesn't just go away. You're actually going to have to pay it back. So when you keep that in mind, treat it like it's your own money, because it really is. You're going to have to pay those credit card companies back with a line of credit back, okay? And sometimes you'd be surprised, depending on what you've got in your life personally. There's been situations in my past where I had to actually refinance my house. And some people didn't, and I didn't know this, I was young, and maybe you need to hear this. Maybe you've never heard this before, but you've got a house. You've been making payments for several years, and you've built some equity, but you've never thought about it like, oh, I've got money built up in my house. And while I'm not saying that it's the number one thing you should do, I'm just giving you an option. You can always refinance your house, go to the bank, as long as they approve you, ask for a home equity line of credit. It's basically like they're going to take how much you owe on the house, how much the house is worth. They're going to want you to keep some equity in the house, and then there might be a difference. Maybe you have $25 or $50 or $100,000 in equity that the bank will give you a line of credit. And what it literally is a checkbook that is drawn on the equity in your house. And you only pay interest on the one that I had. You only pay for anything if you use it. So it just sits there dormant. And for my house one, I think it was like a 10-year deal, so it was good for 10 years. So if I wanted to borrow $10,000, say for a business, or if I ran into issues, personally with finances, I could just write myself a check. The bank had the collateral of my house. So if I didn't make those payments, they could repossess my house. I mean, that's the drawback, obviously. That's their collateral. That's their protection. That's good. And then you just pay it back as you can. So that's another way. That's another option if you're in trouble, is look to your personal assets. Maybe you have an extra car, or you've been collecting stuff on the side and you've got stuff you can sell on eBay, and you can raise money to get you through those tough times. So anyway, I hope this helped you out. I hope I brought some new insight to possibilities for if you're in trouble with your business, how to maybe get money and how to push through it. As always, business is going to get tough. No matter how long you're in it, you're going to have tough times. There's going to be speed bumps. And remember, when that happens, never quit. Push through, keep pushing, and be the